Okay, इसमें any points? Yes. Now, come to point number 2 in the term encoding decoding. There's this point now which says guided by the skills of the sender and assumption about the skills of his receiver. So the key point here is one sec. Assumption. This is the key point. Now when I started this class, when I came, I sat down, I put on my mic, I started speaking. What assumption did I make? What assumptions did I make? What assumptions did I make? When I sat down on the chair and started blabbing, what assumptions did I make? I made a few assumptions in my mind. What are those? Can anybody pull them out? Okay, people are familiar with the subject. It's a diverse group of individuals interested to listen, ready for class. That class will go smoothly. Alok, that was not my assumption. Just kidding, that was also one of them. Everyone is listening, everyone that we'll be joining the class. Mic is working. We are waiting. Yeah. Now, this is where I get the first point. English is understood by all. That is the question. Did I ask which language you are comfortable in? Did I ask? No. I just assumed. I just assumed. I never asked that whether you know English or not, or which language do you prefer. Now suddenly I started speaking in Bengali, which hang on. Once again, We are like, can anybody tell me the name of the tell me the name of this creature? There's this mythical creature that dies every time and then every time arises. Amrita, I'm sorry, but that's the way that's there in the system now. So we'll pick up the full name. I'm sorry, can't help it. So what we were saying was, I was asking this question. Okay, Phoenix is right. Chalo, good. Your GK is good. Okay, now the question I had earlier was, anybody speaks Bengali? That was my question. क्या है? It's a lot of tech problems. Happy holidays. No presenter. Not related with IT. It's not IT problem, man. It's an Adobe system that just suddenly decided that it didn't want us to attend the class. Okay, so nobody's answered that question. So I am assuming that nobody knows. So nobody is there. So if I had started speaking in Bengali, nobody would have understood, na? Okay, now anybody available to answer? Okay, so one person out of how many we have? 60 people. Out of 59 people, one person. 2 people, max to max. 3 people, best case scenario. What about the remaining 56 people? Remaining 55 people. So when you talk, you have a certain set of assumptions that you are making. Quality, not everybody will have the same skill set. Now take us for example, we have 58 people here. Let's include me. We have 58 people. So with 58 people, is everybody at the same level of English skills? Is everybody at the same level of English skills? Tell me. But still everybody speaks English. I can still assume everybody speaks English and I can talk according to that. So that is how the assumption is being made. Sometimes it goes wrong also, but 90% of the time it's the correct assumption. Okay. Now these are the factors that affect communication. Listening is the biggest problem. Second problem could be noise. English is really a very funny language. Tell me about it. I'll tell you a few good books where you can read funny parts of English. Khushwant Singh is a good example. Half of the time, if you've read them, read the original Khushwant Singh. Khushwant Singh, I think about has 7-8 joke books. Read the first 3 joke books where Khushwant Singh used to write on his own. You will have the fun of your life. If any of you have read them, they are beautiful. Go and read them. Let me write it down. Achha, English is what you are telling me. Yesterday my colleague was telling me also it's a good movie. But somehow or the other I don't like Hindi movies. For some reason. I don't know why, but I don't like them. Give me an English movie any day. Okay. Yeah. Now, next point is distortion. That could be through poor communication skills, could be through poor technical skills, could be through, like you guys will be very happy to say, technical problems. Yeah, right. I know. You don't need to remind me. Relax. Then next point is lack of skills. Maybe in terms of speaking skills, listening skills, hearing skills. See, even one thing more. Giving feedback is also an art. Not everybody can give feedback. Just keep that point also in mind. Giving effective feedback is also an art. Okay? Okay, next slide. Okay, no questions, I hope. Okay, now these are the types of communication. We have written, oral and non-verbal. Written is what we write, we type, we'll class it that way. See, usually communication is classed under two headings. There is verbal and there is non-verbal. Okay, verbal is broken down into oral and written. Now, for the sake of our understanding, I split it up. Communication for us from now on is going to be in three parts. Oral is one, that what we'll call speech, oral. Number two is your written, and number three is your non-verbal, which are your gestures, etc. Okay, so these are the three types of communication that we'll be using: oral, written and non-verbal. Okay, now these are the breakdown of the types of communication. Now come to this non-verbal wala segment. Which of these are not clear to you? In this list, in this 7-8 non-verbal communications, just let me draw something here. These 7 communications where this green arrow is running, what do we mean by this? Any of these not clear to you? Any of these 7 terms? I think 7 terms? Yep. 7 terms not clear to you? Chronemics, okay. All are not clear. So do you want me to go line by line for each? ऐसा करें? Written is classed as verbal. Written is classed as verbal. That's the classification. So we'll have to live with that. Okay, chalo, I'll explain line se. Kinesics. Kinesics is body language. How I use my arms, legs, hands. That is kinesics. Body language, movement of my body parts. That is kinesics. Okay, let me write it down for clarity. For those who are suffering from language issues, internet issues, movement of my body parts, hands, legs, head, eyes, etc. ठीक है, this is what is called kinesics, movement of the body. Okay, paralanguage, abhi just keep it aside for some time. We'll come back to paralanguage later on. Let's come to the next one, which is space. Proxemics. Which word comes from this term proxemics? Proxemics will give us the word proximity. Oh, yep, proximity. What does the term proximity mean? What does proximity mean? Closeness. Yes, that is the meaning that I want to hear. Closeness or distance, both will work. Obviously, it has both meaning. So, now tell me one thing. Your near and dear ones, your kids, your better half, or your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, as applicable. There, how close would you bring them to you? You as an individual, who will be the closest to you? This set of people, I think. Maybe you can add your parents into this list. Then you'll have close friends that will be the next furthest away, and you will then have your office colleagues even further, and strangers will be as far as possible. Keep that in mind. Physically, when you talk to them, when you talk to people, I don't think you would want your better half to be sitting across the room and you're talking. But you will not let a stranger come very near you when you are talking. I don't know. At least that's what I do. Maybe I am wrong or I am crazy, whatever. But that's what I do. My close people will be near me. The strangers or the people whom I don't want to talk with, they'll be as far as possible. Okay, third and fourth point. Abhi third point I'm coming. Third I'm explaining, Pragya. Third is exactly what I'm explaining. Space, which is nearness to self while communicating. That is what is the term proxemics. ठीक है guys, अब आ जाते हैं next one is chronemics. Time. How can time be a communicator? बताओ. Think. How can time be a communicator? How can time be a mode of communication? I have lots of examples, but I want you guys to think. I mean, no problem. You call me later. We can talk on the phone. Relax. Any doubts you have, note them down. बाद में we can discuss them. My paper only, and I am available. Relax. Time. How can time be a communicator? How can time be a communicator? Let's say, being on time is item number 1. Okay. Then number 2, delivering on committed time. Okay, and responding on time. How many times you go to a meeting? How many times you go to a meeting and you are made to wait? You are made to wait. Hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. You're just sitting for that person. Just waiting for that person. Just waiting. Why? No, it's not punctuality that's the issue. The issue is power. Power. People like people to wait. People like to make people wait. मेरी wait कर रहा है. Oh, Shikhar, you're fortunate that you haven't seen that kind of a group of people. Anybody into sales, hardcore sales, they will give them the chance and a bucket and a towel, they'll start crying. I don't know. They'll do that. Just give them that, they'll start crying the amount of time they will just spend sitting around. Anybody a medical rep, I have full respect for those people. Yeah, okay, Amrita, you can, obviously, yaar, I am not God and this is not gospel truth. This is what my experience has suggested. Obviously, if you have anything apart from it, please contribute. We'll be more than happy. I'll be happiest person if you can give me a second perspective. So that is good. If we have multiple perspectives coming in, I am the happiest camper around. Okay, so that is chronemics. That is time. How time is effective. Yes, it's a lack of discipline. It's an ego issue. There are hundreds of problems. But for you being in that position as a customer representative, a customer service executive or whatever, you have to bear with it. There's no other option. To grin and bear it. There's nothing you can do. Unfortunately, that's the harsh reality that we are operating in. Other people may not be demonstrating the same level of commitment or discipline that we are demonstrating. We are always, let's say we are always on time. Meeting is at 10 o'clock, we'll reach at 9:55. And then we'll wait for 1 hour. There's this term, if you've heard it or not, there's this term. Ego issues, Rashi, ego issues. Priority. Ego issues. It's all ego issue. It's all an ego issue. For some reason, there's stupid people who won't do it. That's not the way to do it. That's stupidity. I am saying that. That's not the way to do it. That's the wrong way. Maybe we can learn. Maybe we can ensure that whenever we call somebody for a meeting, we don't do this thing. Maybe we can ensure that. Let's ourselves ensure that. Then probably change will come in the people around us. If they see us doing it properly, maybe they'll also learn from us. Okay, so that does your time part. Now let's come to touch. Now there are certain speakers or certain people who have this habit of using touch to emphasize their points. Maybe when you are with friends, it's always backslapping, handshaking, touching, whatever. So there are people who do that. Not everybody may be comfortable with that same level of physical contact. So that is the challenge with touch. Not everybody is comfortable with the same level of physical contact. If a student comes to me in the class or when I'm sitting in my room for some queries, he comes and he just gives me a hug and then sits down. I'll be the most uncomfortable person on that planet at that moment. So not everybody will be comfortable with same level. However, if I go and meet my brother, if he just shakes my hand, I will feel uncomfortable. He's my brother, yaar. Might as well give him a hug. Whatever. I'm just taking a very simplistic example, but I hope it conveys what I'm trying to say. So touch gives a very personal approach to it. Touch is very personalized. Touch is very personalized. Okay, so that is there. Then we come to listening. Listening, we already talked about it on length. I think isme we don't need to say. You guys gave me the points earlier only. When listening is what do you say? Respect for the speaker, demonstrating your presence and commitment to the information. Okay. Roshi, audio is there, yaar. Audio is working. Okay. Now let's come to this next part. Hang on. Okay. See, it's a cultural significance is a separate point. हाँ जी आलोक बताओ. Yeah आलोक. Shoot. Query है तो shoot. No problem. Most welcome to interrupt. Okay. Haptic. हाँ जी बताओ. Where we use it in the sense we do use, yaar. We do use. How many times when somebody does a work for you, you'll put a hand on their shoulder and say thank you. Pat your colleague, a handshake. Maybe when you're with your teammates in your sales meetings, you would probably even hug also. If you have done something good, as a team you've done something good. Handshake is haptics, handshake is touch. That is part of touch. It is part of touch. Okay. How many times when you are trying to point out something to somebody, you'll put a hand on the shoulder and point them to the right direction. Look there or look here. That is touch. That all of that is touch. Okay, now how is silence a form of communication? Now, how is silence a form of communication? ये बताओ. Silence is itself a form of communication. Guys would be more able to talk on this when their other half gives them silence for whatever reasons. I don't know about the girl side because I don't have experience there. Not being a girl myself, so I will stick with that one segment only. I am clarifying now, I don't have experience at that segment. I know from this segment only. Na? I am at this side of the river. You are at the other side of the river. So you have your own perspective. So that is one example of silence, where silence also communicates a response, avoidance, cold shoulder, then anger, neglect, all those things silence will help convey. Ignorance even, yes, that's a good point to say. Ignorance also. If you don't know anything, you will be silent. Okay, Silence is no, silence is not that. No, no, no. Silence means not responding. Silence is choosing not to respond. It's a choice. Choosing not to respond. It is negative most of the time. Problem, sometimes silence is positive, maybe when your parents are screaming at you or shouting at you for doing something wrong. I think that's the time when being silent is the smart option. I don't know, I would do that. I would just keep quiet. Let them say what they want, I will keep quiet. That is not the time for me. They don't want a response at that moment. They don't even wish for a response. So just keep that in mind. That is how silence works. Okay, let's come to the next point. Yeah, it can be dangerous, yes, but sometimes, yep, silence is a barrier. Too much silence is bad. You guys are all right. Yes, silence is dangerous. Yes, silence implies poor skills at your end. It is tough to interpret silence, yes, but when I link it to the circumstance or what you'll say, the environment. No, let's use a simpler word. Context. Circumstance and context. Yeah, I'm paid to talk, my dear. Why would I be silent? I have the best incentive to talk. I get paid to talk, yaar. What more do you want from life, man? You talk, people listen to you, and then you get paid also. What more do you want? I don't know. I will go by that. What more do I want? I am getting paid to talk, yaar. और क्या चाहिए उससे ज़्यादा? There are people who keep talking and nobody hears them. Here I am talking, you guys are hearing also, and I am getting paid also. और क्या चाहिए यार? What more do you want from the life? Okay, now when we talk of verbal communication, now just I have one question. Alok, I am hearing you, I am reading your post, but I am deliberately choosing not to respond so that I don't miss out on my course structure. अभी break में करेंगे, relax. Break में करेंगे. I told you ना, hang on, break में we'll discuss this point, but let me right now complete my structure of the class. Na? Okay guys, okay kids, break up. Okay, fine. Yes, somehow or the other, I don't know why, but I'm looking at your chat windows or your chats. You are reminding me of what we used to fight in class. You're reminding me of how we used to fight in class. Just like this. There would be one person speaking, others would cut him out, he will then go back. That was fun. You guys are reminding me of what I did in my MBA. You guys are reminding me of that. Today I am having full remind of this. Okay guys, now jara personal, jara chill. Let's just be professional. Relax. Everybody chill. Everybody take a chill pill. Let's go back to being business communication. यही पंगा होता है. This is why I don't take classes. अगली बारी से मैं नहीं लूंगा क्लास. Because then what happens? You just keep asking फालतू के questions. I miss my whole class का structure. ऐसे मत करो यार. Don't. Right now I am taking a class. छोड़ दो. Let me take my class. ठीक है? And any queries you have my number यार. क्लास के बाद कॉल कर लेना ना please. या break में डिस्कस कर लेना. ठीक है? So let's just continue. So my point is, now I'm coming to the difference between, I'm going to now do a verses. Okay, there'll be paralanguage. Abhi I'll explain later. So paralanguage I'll explain later. Okay, and guys, one thing more, because since some of your names I may not be comfortable with or familiar with, so if I mispronounce or I use the wrong name that you prefer, please ignore and please correct me so that I don't make the mistake at the next time. Okay, but some names when it comes out on the screen, I may not be able to catch very fast. So if I mispronounce or I mistake your name, please ignore me. Huh? So please correct me also. Okay? So my question that I'm going to use now is effectiveness for speech versus writing. Now, in question number one, now take question number one. If you have to convey, now take example. If you have to convey a complex idea, which mode would you prefer, speech or writing? If you have to convey a complex idea, which one would you prefer? See, what happens with writing is actually क्या है, when you look at ourselves, we are more easier to speak. Why? Because speech assumes that you are in front of me, and with your non-verbal reaction, I can immediately change. But with writing, that continuous change is not possible. For some reason, that continuous change doesn't take place. So speech is better when you need to convey a complex idea. But when you need to now when you need to transmit data, then of course writing is better because it is there in front of you. It's a proof. If I can use that simple term, it's proof that I've given you that data. And it's there, it is what I'll say referable. Because see what happens, like for us, whatever I said 10 seconds previously, can anybody repeat in the exact same way? I can't do that. I have spoken it, I still can't do that. Nobody can do that. That is why we say speech is temporal. The problem with speech is that, okay, with a video broadcast, I can reach thousands of people. At one go, with a web conference or a TV or something, I can reach millions of people. But unless it is recorded, it's going to be lost if you are not there, present there. Get the point I'm trying to make? That when you are listening, whatever medium you are using, you have to be there physically at that moment to listen. That is, this ability to remember is called eidetic memory, or the eidetic memory. People who can remember each and every word they spoke. It's this. Have you heard this term? Rainbow Man. There was a movie also by this name a few years back. I'm not sure whether you've seen it or not. Rainbow Man or Rain Man, I think. Either of these two terms. I forget. Rain Man or Rainbow Man. I think it's either this one then. This is a guy who forgets nothing. This is a guy who forgets nothing. So that is the guy. That is what this term means. The people who are able to remember everything. Now I am not a doctor or anything, but as far as I know, I think what happens with these kind of individuals is that the two halves of their brain get fused together. So that increases their retention of their phrase. They can forget nothing. Parul, if I didn't know better, your request would have been suspicious. Okay, so when we've talked of this now, and again the problem with written communication is, look at the last point on the screen, it has multiple meanings. Now if I write here A, if I write A will mean A only, na? A will need A only, na. A cannot start suddenly meaning H, na. Okay. So that is why now with written communication, that's the advantage. It's unequivocal. It has legal validity. Reaches a greater audience. Why? Tell me, anybody? How does written communication reach a greater audience? Why am I saying that? Why am I saying that? That written communication reaches a greater audience. I'm not saying wider, I'm saying a greater audience. Okay. Now, see, that's the advantage. See, now you see, if you have a book, let's a book, for example, if it was written even hundreds of years ago, and if it is still legible, we can still read it, na? Okay, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but this one, written hundreds of years ago, and it still means the same. It reaches a greater audience now. Reaches an audience into the future. Reaches a future audience. Reaches a future audience. Now take this. Vedas. Our Vedas are how many years old? Can anybody tell me? Indian Vedas are how many years old? 1,000. It's probably 4 to 6,000 years. Probably 4 to 6,000 years old. And they still have meaning for us. They still have meaning for us. We can still read them. If we have that physical parchment in our hand, we can still read them. So it reaches a greater audience. It's uniform. However, it is cumbersome. It's an acquired skill. Even a rickshaw puller can speak, but he or she may not be able to write. Okay. So that does your written wala part. I think you're going too slow here. I need to pick up speed. These are the types of written communications. Letters, emails, memos, synopsis, all of this you know. Move on. Any questions?